So I'm out here drinking some milk, and I wanted to talk about something today. What I want to talk about is boxes. So, as you can guess, I'm not talking about the literal box. I don't care for an actual box, but what I do want to talk about is the metaphorical boxes that we tend to put people in, especially in our societies. We have made boxes for certain types of people, and if and we can think outside of those boxes. For most of us, it tends to happen even though we don't actually do it on purpose. So what I mean by that is, let's say I find someone, you know actually I'll just tell some of my stories. So whenever, as you can see, I really like to yap a lot, and at college or at someone's, I don't know, gatherings, I tend to talk about certain things. Like whenever the topic is brought up, I'll talk about discipline. I'll talk about why. I'll talk a bit about psychology. That kind of things. I don't try to like change anyone or anything, because obviously I can change someone else's brain for them. They have to do it themselves. But what I tend to do is I tend to talk. I mean, it's usually when I'm asked to talk about it, but I tend to talk in a way that it's it's pretty unfiltered. So I usually talk like, yeah, the importance of physical work and being proud of your works, the masculinity related stuff, I guess. And people automatically seem to put me in a box where I'm the guy who listens to Andrew Tate, listens to Hamza all the time, the guy who actually doesn't do anything, like the incel kind of guy. People sometimes tend to put me in that box, although it hasn't happened to me much, but some brainless people seem to do that. So that's what I mean by the boxes. Like if I say something like, I don't know what to say. Let's see. If I say it's an absolute sin to be a fat fuck, then people would assume I'm a right wing guy, I'm the right wing guy who doesn't care for people, who doesn't care how people feel, who thinks therapy is fake, etc. etc. So I really don't like that, because I've heard absolute life changing piece of advices from people whose life are in shambles. I think let's say, I think a beggar and a millionaire both can give you good life advice. It depends on the person who takes the advice. So yeah, that's why I really hate boxes. I don't like to be put into a box, and I don't like to put others into a box. And sometimes I might tend to do that, but I'll try to correct myself as much as possible. Like, let's say, and yeah, I used to be kind of cocky back in the day. Whenever someone said like they played video games or something like that, I'd automatically assume that they are the fucking gooner kind of guy, like always plays video games. And yeah, sometimes I was right, but sometimes I was wrong. It doesn't necessarily have to be that if someone plays video game, he's weak, he doesn't play esports in real life. I mean, yeah, video games are absolute fucking, I don't know, nightmare kind of things to me, I guess. I've never actually played a proper video game for I don't know, I played like 10 matches in COD back in the day when I was a kid. That's all the video games I've ever played. So I don't know, I shouldn't be yapping about that. But yeah, that's what I want to say is we should be out. Let's say some people tend to think that, if a guy hasn't, like, if a guy is a teacher, he must be lost in life. He must be like, he probably didn't do any good in life. He probably didn't go as far as he should have gone. He probably didn't work hard. But who knows? That guy probably wanted to be a teacher. That guy is probably doing his best in life for himself. We can judge them by that. That doesn't mean, like, people say, of course, I'll judge a book by its cover. I don't have the time to read the whole book. That's what covers are for. And I agree on that. That's what covers are for. But at least spend some time knowing the cover. At least spend some time reading the cover, reading the author, what the book is about. You can't just see one line, one dot in that cover of the book and judge a whole book by it. That's what most of us tend to do. And I'm not talking about, like, I'm not saying you tend to do that. I'm saying I used to do that. I sometimes do that against my will, even though I don't want to do it. I sometimes seem to do that. And you can just judge someone by one thing in their life. Like, let's say, if a random person meets me and asks who my mom is, then he'll say I'm just like my mom. And if another person sees me and asks who my dad is, and he knows my dad, then he'll say I'm just like my dad. But I'm not just my mom, I'm not just my dad. I'm a little bit of my mom, I'm a little bit of my dad, I'm a little bit of everyone. I'm a little bit of my brothers, I'm a little bit of my sister, I'm a little bit of Richard Rawlings, I'm a little bit of Joe Rogan, I'm a little bit of Joey Diaz, I'm a little bit of Theo Von, I'm a little bit of Hamza, I'm a little bit of everything. And that's how everyone is. You can just put someone into a certain, like, 4x4 box and then treat them that way. I'm not saying go out there and have an open heart for everybody, no. But if you are trying to make a connection with someone, if you are trying to know someone, if you are talking to someone, then have an open mind that they might have their own different stories, they might have their own different experiences, they might have completely different experiences than you. They are not you. Like some gym bros, I don't know, I'm sitting a lot on gym bros, I shouldn't say that. Some, typical kind of guys seem to think that if someone doesn't go to gym, he's a lazy fuck. Mostly Americans, I guess. But the thing is, most of the people in Nepal, most of the teenagers in Nepal would probably go to the gym if they had the fucking money. But we don't have any money, that's why we don't go to the gym. It's not always that everyone is as privileged as you, and some people really find it hard to do that. I mean, most people on self improvement and all of that stuff, they probably have an open mind, but most normal people can seem to think outside of their own boxes, and they tend to make little boxes for everyone to put in. Why the fuck why the fuck do we do that? I don't know. Maybe it's easier for our brain to process. Maybe our brain doesn't have time to be open hearted for everybody. But what I'm trying to say is, don't spend too much time trying to know everybody. Alright? You can't know everyone from deep within for who they are and shit. No, nobody's got time for all that. But if you are in that condition, like, let's say, normally I wouldn't sit down to hear a story about how a guy fell off in life and now he's stuck somewhere where he doesn't want to be. I wouldn't be in a mood to always listen to that thing. But some time ago, I was in my class sitting right there, and uh, a friend of mine, I guess, we weren't that close of friends at that time, but friend of mine came to me and he wanted to talk about how his life went wrong. And I already hated being at that school. I wasn't studying anyway. So I said, what the fuck, let's just listen to what he has to say. And the stories that he had, damn man, I guess you can make a small movie about that. That guy used that guy could have been a pro cricketer, at least played at national level, but he got hit in one of his balls by the cricket ball, and his girlfriend left him. His parents had to spend a lot of money on him, that kind of shit. So I kept an open mind at that time, and I got to hear that story, and I connected with that guy a little more. and now that guy still remembers me from time to time, even though I don't talk that much to people from my college, I guess. But whenever we meet, that guy seems to have like instant connection with me. So yeah, that's how I think we should be. We should be open-minded. Like, if a guy is, let's say, I don't know, I don't know how to put it in Nepali terms. Let's say if a guy is in the army, we can't always assume that he is a good guy. We can assume that he is physically active and all, but I've seen a lot of army officers who are, alcoholics, who go to prostitutes. So yeah, I know personally, I have personal relation with that kind of people as well. And I know people who are like just farmers who can carry literal like double, triple of their weight up a hill. I know those people as well. And those people are fucking disciplined. I know singers who are jacked as fuck. Usually, if I say, like, whenever people see me carrying a guitar playing songs, they just tend to assume that I'm a hippie or something. I'm a guy who smokes. I'm a guy who goes out to parties and shit. And whenever someone sees me going on a run, they probably think I'm a disciplined guy. And it's normal to do that at first sight. Like, if someone sees a singer, it's normal to think that, yeah, his life is probably in shambles. And if you see a runner, it's normal to think that, yeah, that guy must be pretty fucking disciplined. And it's a human nature to do that. But if we're trying to connect with someone, if we're friends to someone, we can't just limit our beliefs to just one part of them. Everyone has little bit, like, everyone is humans are like sponges. We If a sponge is dipped in water, it will soak up a little bit of water. Then if it's dipped in, let's say, oil, it soak up a little bit of oil. And if it's dipped in, let's say, coke, it will soak up a little bit of coke. And there will be a mixture of all those things in that sponge at last. You can just assume that if this sponge has a water in it, it would be good for cleaning the dishes. No, you might get the oil as well. Pretty fucking weird analogy that I just gave, but I guess you get the point of what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think that's why I really hate boxes. And I get to put in a lot of different boxes by a lot of different people. Some people seem to think, yeah, some people, I don't care what they think about me that much, but they're still related to me. They're still my brothers, blood related. So some people seem to think that if I give advice to them about, like, dude, you need to get a job, or you at least need to work a little bit harder, and they give the advice to me as well. But when I say it in a certain way, and they nickname me Sigma Dai or something. They tend to call me that. And of course, from those people's perspective, I'm the guy who doesn't connect with people. I'm the guy who doesn't like to have fun. But on the other hand, the people that I went to school with, they tend to think that I'm the going out having fun, partying kind of guy, and I don't have any more, any much more depth to me. So yeah, that's the point of talking, I guess. If you're just seeing someone, it's normal to put them in a box at the first sight. But if you're taking the time anyway to connect with someone, to be friends with someone, then be open to thousands, hundreds of thousands of possibilities of how that person will be. Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make, I guess. Yeah, that's all for today, I guess. I'm done drinking my milk, and I've yapped for about solid 14 minutes. Today is my old man's birthday. My granddad is turning 83 today. 83 today, so I gotta go to that now. I gotta go to his house.